Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode of Healthy TV. This is episode 9, and you're joining me on the parkway just outside of Ottawa. I'm on the beautiful Ottawa River. You can see behind me here, and this is one of my favorite places to come when I only have a little bit of time and I want to get outside in nature. And that's really the big topic of this week, and in fact this month, because what we're focusing on is getting outside and moving. Really, I would argue 30 minutes a day. And it's actually the challenge I'm putting to all of you. And I mentioned it last week, but certainly a challenge in our office at the wellness group is to get outside and move 30 minutes every single day, and preferably out in nature. So when you're immersed in nature. And, just before we even dive into that topic, I want to welcome you guys to the show. Really appreciate all the feedback I've been getting, and even last week I was a little bit on the back foot as I was preparing to go in for some elective surgery to repair a hernia. And actually some people have been asking, so I thought I'd just mention here live that things are going well. I did a good job of getting outside every day to get my recovery walking in. It's amazing what happens when you're reduced to only walking. I'm used to being very active. But you know what, I kind of embraced it, and just moving slow has become a big focus over the last week for me. And things are going well. I'm actually on the mend and back in the gym this week doing some very basic exercises. So thanks to those of you who expressed concern and support, and I really appreciate that. And of course, I'm always willing to exchange that. So always happy to help people out as they go through those kinds of struggles. So love the fact that there's a sense of community there, and really that's a big part of what the purpose of this show is to help to build a sense of community around health and healthy habits. And in fact, if you go back through all the topics, really the whole purpose of the show is to share really strategies, simple things that you can do in your life to help improve your health and improve the health of your family. And I think there's probably a few topics that are more important, and certainly a few topics that are dear to my heart than the one we're talking about today, which is getting sufficient amounts of vitamin N. Last week I presented this concept of vitamin N. Those of you who weren't there, I won't hold you in suspense any longer. Vitamin N is simply nature. And I think it's a really great way of considering the concept of getting outside in nature is to consider it as an essential nutrient, just like we would with any other essential vitamin. And what I mean by that is that I think there's a really valid argument to say that we need to be out in nature. It's not something that just benefits us, maybe provides some short-term benefits. It's actually something that, if you want to be healthy, it's really a requirement, something that you need to meet on a regular basis. And this is not just me saying this. There's actually some really solid research coming out to support this claim that being out in nature is something that's really important and provides some really valuable, I would say it satisfies some very deeply set patterns in the body, and particularly in the brain. And I think if you just think about it in the bigger context of evolution, the fact that, for almost 100% of our history, let's say 99.5% of our history, we've existed in nature, right? That's been our home. We didn't, it's only really in the last couple hundred years that we've had we've really applied humans' unique characteristic, which is the use of our executive faculty to be able to plan for the future and to innovate and take materials in nature and convert them to our best uses. And so we've done that, and as a result, we've created this amazing civilization that protects us largely from nature. And that's a great thing. I'm hugely supportive of air conditioning and having 4 walls and a roof over my head and all the other pleasantries that we get living in a modern society. However, it does not remove the requirement to get out in nature and to enjoy the benefits that you get from being exposed to nature. So some of those things, and I mentioned research, there's some really cool studies being done. A lot has to do with children, but also as it applies to adults in general. I got a list here. We know based on at least some of the preliminary research coming out that having regular access to nature improves memory, performance, and attention spans. It boosts creativity. It provides a reduction in ADD and ADHD symptoms in kids. It provides a reduction in blood pressure, which I thought was really interesting. A reduction in serum or blood stress hormones, and that actually makes a lot of sense when you consider that being out in nature is really our by design environment. It boosts cellular immunity. In fact, it increases the particular types of cells that are responsible for kind of our first pass immune system. And it actually, in one pretty small research study, but still some significant results, provides some anti-cancer protection by boosting our free radical, combating free radicals in the body. So some pretty cool stuff. There's new stuff coming out all the time. And so what I decided this month, I would share with you some of my favorite places to go where I can get easy access to nature, and where things like this happen. I got a nice friend here coming along. There he is. Can you see him? He's just coming for some water. I wanted to share with you some of my favorite places that's easily accessible from Ottawa. So here I am on the Parkway. You know, you could say that I'm still in an urban environment, but I'm still surrounded by natural, I would say natural environments. So the water, I've got some beautiful trees, lots of color, and I've got space. And I think that's a big aspect of getting out in nature, is really having the sense of space around you. We also talked about last week, exposure to the colors, natural colors in nature has a very stimulatory effect on the brain, very calming effect. And for me, I know at least this is kind of my own little N of one research study, but I know that there's no question that being out in nature, even if it's just coming for a 30-minute walk along the river, has a real effect on, it puts me in a bit of a meditative state, and I'm able to use that time to kind of clear my mind and deal with any stresses that I've been maybe faced with for that week or that day. And I always come away feeling more calm, more centered, and really with a sense of I can manage those challenges. And so that provides a huge value to me, and I know it can for you too. So what I put out to you is get out in nature. Follow the challenge for this month. Every day, make a point. You're going to get outside for 30 minutes every day, and as close as you can to nature, whether that's coming in, going for a walk along the Parkway here, getting out to some trails that are nearby your house, even just driving 5 minutes out into the countryside, find a dirt road somewhere and just walk along it for 30 minutes. It does not require a whole lot of planning, and the benefits that you'll accrue, particularly if you do it every day, can be very significant. It also sets up a habit that you can maintain throughout the fall and the winter, which ultimately that's what the whole purpose of these challenges is, to help you to create health.